I got a classy finish, Karat of Karat vintage. Tell these fashionistas that this is classic stitching. 3 series glasses tinted, package the shipment. Smoke a blunt and then it's back to business. Cash payment, bird hidden in a tax haven. Forget the figure on the bank statement. I throw you in the Bob Backlund backbreaker. My band playing and they're rocking out like Van Halen. I'm a fan favorite.
Right, I should probably start this video by giving you some context. Let's start with who am I? Well, my name's Lewis, I'm 27 years old and I live in London. I'm a bit of a walking cliche, to be honest. You know them lads you'd find chatting shit in the kitchen till 4 AM, who then years later miraculously become obsessed with the outdoors. Well, for better or for worse, that is kind of me. So a few years back I started trying to improve my lifestyle. I think the fact that I had a beer belly in my mid-20s was probably a bit of a sign. So I did the classic, swapped the pubs for going outdoors. I spent a lot of time hiking, but then before long discovered trail running. I realised that you could see twice as much in a day, and afterwards it kind of felt like you'd done something. Don't get me wrong, I was absolutely crap at this to begin with. Years of smoking, drinking and doing hardly any exercise meant that I was pretty bad at running. In fact, I could barely run 3 kilometers without stopping. But like they say, you've got to start somewhere. And so I did. Scroll back far enough on my Instagram and you'll see me and my mates training for a 10k like it was the World Cup. And that wasn't even that long ago. Anyway, as time went by, I kept moving the goalposts further and further, until eventually I reached the point where I thought running 100 kilometers would be a good idea. And that is what brings us to this video. So the race I was taking part in was the UTMB Nice 100 kilometer race, which despite advertised as 100 kilometers was actually 110 kilometers with 5,500 meters elevation. So not only would I be running 110 kilometers, I'd also be doing the equivalent to Snowdon 5 times, which is later something I would come to regret. So the trip starts with me taking a solo flight from London to France. It was me, a suitcase full of gels and a dream. This was a moment I've been talking about for the past year, and it was finally happening. As I took an Uber from the airport into town, the nerves definitely started kicking in. I checked in, picked up my bib, and before I knew it, it was the night before the race. I was starting to stress out a little bit. Less so about the race and more so about the small intricacies like waking up in time and being allowed on the bus to the start line. For some reason, I kept convincing myself that I wouldn't be able to start the race. Either way, I took myself out for a shakeout run. One last dance before the big one. I don't actually know who I think I am wearing shorts like this, because I've got legs like toothpicks, but about to give the French locals a pretty shocking sight. Got back, ate like a king, and then tried to get my head down for the night. I met up with my friend George at the start line, who I was going to be doing the race with. So just on our way to the start line. George, how you feeling?
Mate, feeling good.
Yeah,
fresh. Yeah,
nervous?
Yeah.
Excited?
No, zero nerves. Just focus. Pure focus.
Just pure focus.
Yeah.
Gonna get it done.
Get it done.
I felt a good mix of nerves and excitement. I didn't really know what to expect, but I did know that I was about to be on my feet for over 20 hours. Before I knew it, the race had started, and that was it. We were off. Whatever happens next is in God's hands. I felt pretty confident off the line. In fact, I was eager to go a little bit quicker, but as George kept reminding me, this was a marathon and not a sprint. It was a beautiful day and the sun was shining. Despite being the end of September, it was still pretty warm. The first aid station was 13 kilometers in. I'd say morale was pretty high and both me and George felt pretty good. We didn't want to hang around for too long, so we tried not to spend any longer than 5 minutes at the aid stations. The next checkpoint was 22 kilometers in, so we pushed on for that. After the second checkpoint, we had a descent followed by a climb. Now, by now it's like mid-afternoon, so as you can imagine, the sun is probably at its most intense. I remember going up that climb and feeling like I was in a Western film. There was absolutely no escape from the sun and I'd run out of water. Next stop was 36 kilometers in, and I couldn't be happier to be there. I wanted to make the most of this stop, so I ate loads and drank loads and chilled out for a little bit. The next stop was going to be 52 kilometers in. It included a pretty hefty climb and we weren't far off sunset either. By this point, you'd covered marathon distance and you could definitely start to feel it on your legs. Things were starting to get a little bit repetitive and I was ready for a different style of running. I was kind of looking forward to it getting dark, but I don't know what I was thinking because the novelty of that ran out pretty fast. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really know what happened here because I stopped filming for quite a while. However, I did find some footage from around 80 kilometers in. Now 80k in. As you can tell, I've lost enthusiasm for filming videos now. Coming up to one of the last aid stations. I'm absolutely fucked now. Like, running is hard work. And I don't know if I'll be doing it again, mate, to be honest. But we'll see. It's like 5 in the morning, I think. 4:30, 5 in the morning. I can barely walk. I'm fucking hungry. I'm sick of eating gels and fucking sugar and shit. And all I want to do is get in bed. George? Anything to...
It's our draft this now, mate.
Yeah.
Well, how far are we in?
Do you really want to know?
83, yeah.
80. 81. Nah, I'll be honest, I think running through the night was the hardest part about this race. Me and George didn't have much conversation left and it was just kind of yourself and your own thoughts. By some miracle we made it through the night and I remember feeling pretty emotional at this point. I remember listening to music and certain songs feeling like they were going to set me off at any point. Maybe it was my surroundings, maybe it was the pain, or maybe it was just a relief. Either way, it felt like we'd done the hard bit now, and it was the home run. That last 15 to 20k was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. The last little stretch. It's fucking beautiful, but I can't really enjoy it too much right now. My legs are absolutely gone. So ready to be done. So ready to be done now. We pulled it together for the last little stretch and believe it or not, we made it over the line. We were out there for just under 27 hours. Whilst it wasn't the time we hoped for, I think both of us were just proud of ourselves for getting it done. This was my first ever 100k distance and I definitely learnt a lot, not just about ultra running but also about myself. So the question remains, would I do it again? Of course I bloody would.